Okay, final one quickly. Canelo situation. Obviously, you put your tweet out. He'll fight in November now.
Correct.
Definitely fight in November.
Yeah, I mean, we were close again. We got to a situation. Oh my God, I look absolutely all over the gaff. 6 weeks to go. It was close, but Eddie Reynoso I think, just said, look, we're going to fight once this year. Let's just get it right. We'll revisit the Caleb Plant fight and those negotiations, see if they get made. If not, Dimitri Bivol is a definite target for them as well.
What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So we just heard there from Eddie Hearn. Now, listen. Caleb Plant fans are going to be having sleepless nights once again because they fought for a while. They got let off the hook, didn't they? Yeah? And listen, I explained about a week ago now what Caleb Plant's plan was. Caleb Plant's plan was, oh yeah, let's go out in a hail of, what do you call it? In a hail of smoke as such. Yeah, well, I'm going to out all the details and then that'll be the end of it. Yeah, I'm going to get the upper hand on the narrative. Because I explained at the time, anyone who's serious, why are you doing all this talking for? Doing all this complaining? The way that Caleb Plant was complaining, yeah, was almost as if he was the bona fide A-side. When you are the B-side, you zip your mouth. Especially when, I wouldn't mind so much, yeah, let's say Caleb Plant was making $10 million anyway. And he's thinking, well, why am I going to be the B-side when I'm making this money anyway? But I always find it baffling when fighters are making maybe $1 million. You've got a 10 times higher payday. Just shut your mouth, innit? Just be quiet. If you believe you're going to win, if you believe you're going to dethrone the A-side, be quiet, sit down. As I explained in my last video, it's only 6 months. No matter how allegedly bad the terms are, they ain't that bad, because you're getting 10 times more money than you've ever made. And it's only 6 months. Beat Canelo in September, beat him again in the rematch, you're going to be $20 million richer and the biggest name in boxing in 6 months' time. If you believe you're going to win, that's all you have to do. It's not rocket science. Oh man, but he wants 40. You're talking about Fox's money. Caleb Plant isn't on the hook for the 40 million. I don't care if I was Caleb Plant, or Caleb Plant shouldn't care what the terms are. Outside of things that specifically affect him, why does he care what's Fox have to pay Alvarez? Which in itself shows that Caleb Plant coming out and airing out all of these details was a narrative play. He was playing the game. He wasn't serious. Because it doesn't make sense for him to be serious. How can he? Why would someone be crying about something that doesn't affect him? And it's the thing. He didn't explain it either. He didn't explain why Fox paying $40 million to Alvarez has an impact on him. I wouldn't mind so much if he said, well, they have to pay him 40 and they're putting me on the hook for 10. He didn't say that. He just crying. Oh man, he said that he wants to get paid $40 million if I pull out. Again, how does that affect you? How does Fox signing a $40 million fee if you pull out, how does that affect you? It doesn't. And this is the thing that Caleb Plant fans, they're too slow to understand. That whole message he put out, none of it actually outlined the actual issue. Because you said, oh, we gave him everything. Okay, so why didn't the fight happen then? You said you gave him all these things. You said you gave him the $40 million if you pull out. And besides, that's another thing. If you ain't planning on pulling out, what's the problem? Again, Caleb Plant didn't explain what the actual issue is. And he didn't explain how it really affects him. Because guess what? If you ain't planning on pulling out with an injury or whatever else, there ain't no problem. And just quickly on that point of because these are a lot of the points the Caleb Plant fangirls have been bringing up. Oh, well, he wants 40 million if he gets an injury. You forget that you're talking about Canelo Alvarez. This ain't some random Jim Jam dude no one's ever heard of before. Meaning that $40 million for Canelo Alvarez, he's going to do 600,000 pay-per-view buys anyway. Which, if you do 700,000 pay-per-view buys, there's 70 million. And if you're fighting a random opponent, innit? He ain't going to make more than 3, 4, 5 million anyway. Plus the gate, plus everything else. So that $40 million guarantee, and to be honest with you, what I find most weird either way is the fact that I didn't hear, for example, we've heard from Stephen Espinosa before. I didn't hear from no Fox executive complaining. Did you? All I heard from was the man who's meant to be the fighter who's just supposed to, all you should be worried about is getting in the ring. And that's what I said at the time. At the time I said, Caleb, why are you complaining about Alvarez being at a wedding? Why are you complaining about him playing golf? You should be gassed that you got the opportunity to get a heads up on the best fighter in the world. At a time when not many people get to have a heads up. How many people get loads of time in advance to fight Alvarez? Not many. In fact, most complain. But yet, this is the thing. For some reason, Alvarez can't win. Oh, he don't give me enough time. Oh, he give me too much time. Damn, you PBC fighters just say crying and whining. What you don't be doing is fighting. And that brings me to today's video. We just heard there from Hearn coming through, and again, giving Caleb Plant and his fans sleepless nights. Because this essentially confirms what every rational boxing fan already knew. And that is that Alvarez wants Caleb Plant badly. Eddie Hearn just confirmed that they're not going to go ahead with the short term or the near term September date. They're going to push it back to November. And most importantly, they're going to reopen Caleb Plant negotiations. And it's so interesting, you won't believe this. As this message came out from Eddie Hearn, guess what happened? I'm going to do a video on this in its own right, but I have to mention it. At this time, within a few hours of Eddie Hearn putting this message out, Caleb Plant's since come out and opened his beak again. Caleb Plant swanned on Facebook about how laughing at Alvarez, saying, oh, Alvarez has missed his Mexican holiday date again in September. Oh, how can Alvarez have missed his last 3 dates? This proves that Alvarez is a ducker because he always misses his dates. What? Eddie Hearn just told you he wants to come back to the table and negotiate. What? Why are you trying to make out this is why? What at this point? Caleb Plant is trying to make this an impossibility. He's trying to put enough water under the bridge that the fight appears to be impossible. And that's what he was doing initially. When he put that message out, not only was it narrative, also he knows, or people know, that when you start airing out contract details, which are confidential to some extent, they're private, aren't they? For the main, the contract details are private. So he knows, if we can air out some of these details, maybe we're going to piss Alvarez off to the extent where he leaves me alone. And that's what they're trying to do here. The fact Caleb Plant's come out and said, oh, look, he's ducking. He's just trying to annoy Alvarez to the extent where he says, oh, you know what, let's forget this guy. Let's just move on. That's what he wants. He don't want the fight. Because if he wanted to fight, the fight would be done. That's my mind. It'd be done. Or Plant would have come out and let the fans know a real issue, because I haven't heard one real issue. All of you goofy Caleb Plant fans, please tell me one issue you heard that affects Caleb so bad. Oh man, well, you know, he got a rematch clause. What planet are you man on? De La Hoya had a rematch clause against Floyd Mayweather. Oops. So that's standard for A-sides. Oh man, but you know, it's not both ways. When Floyd Mayweather fought everyone, he had a rematch clause. No one else did, and rightfully, there's a reason for that. Because when you're a bona fide A-side, and you're a bona fide, how many pay-per-view shows has Caleb Plant had? Oops, none. And that's the bottom line here. Alvarez is a pay-per-view star. Caleb Plant never had a pay-per-view. So why would he have a rematch clause for? He don't do no numbers. The whole point of a rematch clause is essentially to protect the pay-per-view star. It doesn't work the other way, because the chances are you're going to lose. So why would Alvarez want to give you 2 paydays when the fight could be pretty decisive the first time? That makes no sense. Of course, it's just think, if Caleb Plant got a rematch clause, every bum might as well have a rematch clause. What makes Caleb Plant so special than Billy Joe Saunders, than anyone else? Who? No one. It doesn't. And to be honest, Billy Joe Saunders has a better resume than Plant does, to be fair. Truth be known. And his ain't no good either. Both of them ain't got no good resumes. But Caleb Plant ain't beat no one. And now he's back on Facebook giving it the big one. Giving it the laughing and whatnot. Stop. Why are you talking so much on social media? But you ain't got nothing to say about negotiations. And this just proves the fact that Team Alvarez, despite Caleb Plant coming out and opening his mouth, the fact they're saying publicly, we want to really try and make this fight, that's all anyone needs to hear. Any honest boxing fan knows Alvarez is genuine. 100%. I don't believe it. It don't make no sense. Why would he be so insistent? Why hasn't he just moved on? Think about it. And I said, to be fair, any reasonable boxing fan knows this anyway. But if Alvarez didn't, just think. I swear down. There's something wrong with boxing fans. There's actually boxing fans out there who think Alvarez doesn't want to fight Plant. They think Alvarez is scared of Plant. Explain to me the mental maths. We know Canelo Alvarez is a unified, bona fide A-side champion. Why would let's say Alvarez was scared of Plant. Why would someone in his position even mention it? Even enter contract negotiations? Why even do that? If you didn't want to fight him. If you were so scared of Plant, you'd just duck him. It's not like, well, YB, Alvarez hasn't got any belts and no one knows him. He's got all the power. And that's why it never made sense. It never made sense that Alvarez wasn't serious about this fight. Because it's almost like Mayweather. It's almost like Mayweather trying to make a fight with someone. And then someone saying, oh, Mayweather doesn't want it. What? Mayweather's been in negotiations. Whenever Mayweather enters negotiations with someone, he's serious. As is every other A-side. Because when an A-side doesn't want to do something, doesn't cross their mind. For example, for whatever reason, Alvarez ain't fighting Demetrius Andrade. Guess what? He ain't entered negotiations with him. Same as Triple G. For whatever reason, Alvarez isn't interested in fighting Triple G again. So guess what? He ain't in negotiations with him. And I'm not being funny. Show me the fights in the last few years where Alvarez hasn't been serious and he's just been messing around, putting his team to work for the sake of it. How many? How many people in the last 3 years has Alvarez gone into negotiations with and not ended up fighting? Oops, everyone. I can't think of one. Show me one. Tell me a name, all you goofy Plant fans. Tell me a name of the fighter Alvarez went into negotiations with just for the laughs of it. Just so he could duck him. He hasn't. Because no A-side needs to do that. No A-side wastes their time negotiating for the sake of it. And I can't believe you man are that delusional. Have you seen your man fight? Your man's got pillow fists. And he ain't that slick. What's wrong with you? Alvarez will hang out the back of Caleb Plant. I'm telling you. Literally. On some Brokeback Mountain thing. 100%. Caleb Plant is going to be the Brokeback Mountain bottom. Because Alvarez is going to be riding the legs off him from the top. 100%. The mad thing is, I tuned into my man's H Money's channel, and he was doing a live stream. He was doing a live stream about it, and people are backing Plant on this one. People are actually saying Plant's the one, and Alvarez is goofy. Alvarez is the A side. You man need to fix up and get serious. He's the A side. He's earned that position. What's Plant done to earn any say in anything? Tell me. You man, tell me what he's done. Has he? How many pay-per-views has he sold? Yeah? How many? Oops, none. How many top-rate fighters has he beat? Oops, none. So don't be talking that rubbish. It's madness. And it's people like that who enable Caleb Plant to be doing this fruity stuff, be acting like a prima donna. And I've got no problem. I've said it before. It's only 6 months. Is it really bad to earn 10 times your highest payday twice? Because 6 months from now, if you've beat Alvarez twice, you'll be able to do what you want. If Alvarez wants that third fight, which he probably would, You can, innit? You can say to him it's 80-20, boss. And you'll be well within your rights to do that, and I'll back him on that one. But for some reason, these guys, they want to be moving like the A side, and they haven't had the A side fight yet. Alvarez had to humble himself against Mayweather. And at that point, Alvarez was a big name in his own right, in as much as he was doing pay-per-views. Mayweather and Alvarez set the pay-per-view record. But even so, Mayweather made him drain down weight. So don't be telling me about us and another thing. Oh, well, Alvarez put a weight clause on Caleb Plant. What? Number one, they're both the same size, so it don't make no sense. And number two, guess what? Mayweather put the same weight clause on Alvarez. What did he do? He sucked it up and cracked on. So, to be fair to Alvarez learnt from the best. Alvarez learnt from Mayweather. In all fairness. So don't be giving it all that. What you need to do is, and I think what it comes down to is, Plant fans know their time is up. They know Alvarez will hang out the back of Plant, and they don't want to see that. That's what the PBC are good at doing. The PBC are very good at having random goofy fighters take belts and just hang around fighting bums. I mean, I'm not being funny. Look at the Charlos. What have they been doing? Tell me a name. Tell me what name the Charlos have beat. Oops. Just be hanging around, fighting randomers. That's what they be doing. To be fair to 147, at least the 147 guys get in there with each other. These Charlos just be hanging around, fighting bums. Or fighting no-name dons, getting beat up by people with no name. That's what they be doing. Because Andre, he wants them bad. He work hard for them. You know what I mean? They missing. And that's what the PBC is good at doing. Apart from 147 and their own in-house fighters. That's another thing. If they're in-house, all of a sudden PBC can't make a fight. That's another trait there. PBC don't make out-of-bounds fights. Cross-promotion fights. So it's crazy that PBC fans try and tell me that it's Alvarez, when Alvarez has a track record of fighting people cross-promotion. Kovalev, whoever you want, even Billy Ho, loads of cross-promotion fights. Your man's, how many cross-promotion fights has Plant had? Oops. How many cross-promotion pay-per-view fights has Plant had? Oops, none. Because he ain't had no pay-per-views, and he ain't had no cross-promotion fights. So, isn't it amazing? All these things that Plant hasn't have, that Alvarez has, but don't tell me, it's Alvarez that's the problem, right? Eddie Hearn is on your neck, and he wants you bad. Listen, Plant, Alvarez wants you bad, and you know it. And that's why you be doing all this extra stuff, because you don't want it. You scary. And what you're trying to do, because you can't do the talking with your fists, or with your pen, i.e. sign the contract and fight him, you can't do your talking with the pen or your fist, so instead, you be doing it with your mouth. And you're trying to, because you can't, like I said, you can't do it with your fists. You can't do it with a pen. So you got to do what you can do, and that's just move your mouth and move your fingers on the pad, typing like you're hard. Because if you was really hard, it would be done already. The fight would be done, and that would be that. Or, like I said, you'd have already pointed out a key killer blow. Because I'm all for it. Genuinely, yeah. If Plant had put out a killer blow, I'd have said, wow, yeah, damn, Alvarez is down bad right now. But he hasn't. And if you disagree, any Plant fan out there, please comment below the killer blow that proves Alvarez was ducking. Show me it. Because nothing so far I've heard is a killer blow. All I heard was whining. So if it's out there, I'd love to hear it. I'd love to hear. Show me the contract point that you man heard Plant say that is the killer blow. Otherwise, your man's scary. No doubt. And actually, just before I go, one thing that's been frustrating me, despite everything, all the evidence has been pointing towards Plant being the one ducking. I can't understand why, number one, Eddie Hearn hasn't come out and essentially aired out why he believes, why in his opinion, the negotiations fell through. Or number two, listen, maybe some of you man can provide a link below, but have you man seen any interview where the interviewer or the media ask Eddie Hearn, Eddie, what went wrong? Because all we've heard from so far is Plant rabbiting on. I haven't heard anything come out from Team Alvarez or from Eddie Hearn as to why he believes negotiations failed. For example, we heard all the bits from our Plant about 40 million this, 40 million that. I was expecting Team Alvarez to come out and kind of clap back. But we haven't heard nothing. Now, it might be the case that because, as we've heard, the topic of this video, Team Alvarez are planning on going back to negotiations. This may have been in their head kind of thing. They may have been always planning that negotiations aren't done for. Which, to be fair to Eddie Hearn, he has consistently said, since negotiations broke down, he's always sounded like, oh, let's try and... He's never completely written it off. So it may be the case that, from Team Alvarez's point of view, this has been a continuing saga. But either way, I haven't heard one media person say to Eddie, why has it fell through? What are the breaking points for this deal? Haven't heard no one say that to him. They just say, oh, what's going on with Canelo? And Eddie Hearn says, oh, might be Bivol, might be September, might be November. That's not the point, is it? It's not what's going on with Canelo Alvarez. It's why did the Plant Alvarez negotiations fall through, in your opinion? Eddie Hearn's very good at skirting around the place, so you've got to be on the ball. You've got to know where to. You've got to be direct, rather, and you've got to be persistent. Now, like I said, it might be the case that Eddie Hearn says it's a continuing negotiation. I can't speak on it, but at least I haven't made. Listen, like I said, maybe some of you, man, can post me the link below. I haven't heard no one be direct with Eddie, because I want to hear. I want to hear from Team Alvarez's opinion what's fell through. Because that for me is also another point that backs Team Alvarez. The fact that we haven't heard no spin or no narrative from Team Alvarez, again, in my opinion, shows that they're genuinely trying to make this fight. Because all we've heard from Alvarez is spin and narrative. And even in that spin and narrative, nothing was a final winning bullet on their behalf. It's kind of like, well, Plant, if you're going to whine so much, at least make sure what you're whining is real smoky and real conclusive. Instead, he whined and there was absolutely nothing conclusive in there. For example, let me help some of you Plant fanboys out. For me, a conclusive kind of magic bullet, or a magic bullet for Team Plant would be something like, oh, Alvarez said, I must weigh in at 170 on the night. That would be an obvious, that's just completely stupid. Something completely ridiculous. That's what I was waiting for from Plant. Now maybe some of you Plant fans have heard something. I haven't heard nothing like that. That's just obviously one example, but unless you man, the way you man are supporting Plant, you must have something like that. I haven't heard it, so I can't wait to hear it. What has been the magic bullet that protects Plant, or that says Plant's right in this situation? Because for me, Fox having to pay $40 million doesn't have nothing to do with Plant himself. All he should be worried about is the fighting, no doubt.